It was supposed to be a routine memorial service. The late Mrs. Whittaker, wife of Thomas Whittaker, one of the wealthiest and most influential businessmen in the state, had passed after a long illness. The room at St. Jude's private hospital was filled with soft whispers, polished shoes, and expensive perfume. Everyone expected quiet prayers, not what happened next. Among the mourners stood Nurse Emily Hart, a calm, composed woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a reputation for compassion. She had been by Mrs. Whittaker's side every single day of her final weeks. Emily wasn't dressed in black like the others. Instead, she wore her hospital scrubs, slightly wrinkled, with a name tag still clipped on. Some attendees frowned at that, but Emily wasn't there for appearances. Thomas Whittaker stood beside his wife's body, holding her pale hand. The casket hadn't been sealed yet. Her face looked peaceful, almost like she was asleep. Murmurs floated through the room as the priest began the final blessing. Then it happened. Without warning, Nurse Emily stepped forward, brushed past the family, and slapped the lifeless cheek of Mrs. Whittaker hard. The crack echoed off the marble walls like a gunshot. Gasps filled the room. Someone screamed. An old woman dropped her prayer book. Thomas stumbled back in shock, his mouth wide open. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he roared. Two security guards rushed forward, grabbing Emily by the arms. "Get her out of here!" someone yelled. People started recording. Phones were out. Chaos erupted. But Emily's voice cut through it all, steady and unwavering. "Wait, look at her chest," she said, confused. Everyone turned. A nurse near the body leaned in, then froze. "Oh my God, she's breathing." Gasps turned into stunned silence. Mrs. Whittaker's eyelids fluttered. Her fingers twitched. A machine that had shown a flatline for minutes suddenly beeped, once then again. Nobody moved. Emily looked Thomas dead in the eyes. She wasn't dead. And if I hadn't done that, you'd be burying your wife alive. For a full 10 seconds, no one said a word. Thomas Whittaker stood frozen, staring at his wife's now moving hand. A moment ago, her skin had felt cold, her body still. Now her lips parted slightly as she took in a shallow breath. The disbelief on every face in the room was nearly identical: wide eyes, parted lips, and the growing realization that they had almost witnessed a living woman being laid to rest. The attending doctor, Dr. Keene, rushed forward. "Get her on oxygen now!" he barked, pushing past mourners still too stunned to move. Another nurse wheeled over a portable monitor as Dr. Keene checked her pulse, his fingers trembling. Faint, but present. She's alive, Emily, still in the firm grip of two security guards, didn't flinch. Her gaze stayed locked on Mrs. Whittaker, not on the cameras filming her, not on the faces twisted in judgment, and not on Thomas Whittaker, whose knees finally gave out as he collapsed into a nearby chair, hands shaking. How he whispered hoarsely, staring at Emily. How did you know Emily looked at him, voice quiet but unwavering? Because I listened. I watched. I didn't just accept what the machines told me. She was declared dead, Dr. Keene snapped, defensive now. No vitals for 5 full minutes. She had catalepsy. Emily said flatly, "I suspected it from day one. The signs were there. Muscle rigidity, non-responsiveness, shallow respiration, but no one would listen. They were too focused on the charts. I was focused on her gasps filled the room again." Catalepsy, a rare condition that mimics death. In such cases, even modern machines can misread. Most doctors never see it in their careers. But Emily had. Once during her residency, the security guards loosened their grip, now unsure what to do. Thomas looked at his wife again, then back at Emily. "You saved her." Emily didn't smile. Her jaw was tight, her hands clenched. "No, Mr. Whittaker, I almost didn't. Because I was told to stay quiet. Because I was told to trust a decision I didn't believe in. I slapped her because it was the only way left to wake her. I would have taken the consequences. I still might." The priest slowly closed his Bible. "Merciful Lord," he muttered, eyes wide. But no one was praying now. They were watching Emily, some with awe, others with fear. And Thomas. He suddenly realized this nurse had just turned his world upside down. The ICU team wheeled Mrs. Whitaker out of the memorial room and back into critical care. Her oxygen mask fogged slightly with each fragile breath, but she was alive. Emily watched her disappear through the automatic doors, heart pounding, mind racing not from panic, but from the weight of what had nearly happened. Thomas trailed behind the stretcher, dazed, while guests whispered behind cupped hands. Some recorded, others deleted their videos, unsure now whether they'd captured a scandal or a miracle. One man muttered, "She just saved a billionaire's wife with a slap who does that back in the hallway. Hospital administrators were already gathering." Emily knew that look on their faces, damage control. Mr. Grant, the hospital director, stepped forward with a rehearsed calm. "Nurse Hart," he said, voice low, "come with me." Now they led her into a conference room, shut the door and drew the blinds. Inside were 3 board members, the head of nursing and the hospital attorney. A notepad, a pen, and a stern silence waited on the table. "Do you understand what you've done?" Mr. Grant asked, folding his arms. "You struck a patient. In front of donors. In front of media." "She was alive," Emily replied. "That slap saved her." "You went against protocol," the legal advisor chimed in. "No one authorized you to touch the body, and now we have a PR crisis on our hands." Emily stood tall, her voice steady. "Your machines failed. The doctor failed. I trusted my training and my instincts. I didn't act out of emotion. I acted because I knew something was wrong." The head nurse, who had worked with Emily for 5 years, shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. "You're being suspended," Mr. Grant said finally. "Effective immediately, pending a full review." Emily's heart sank, but she didn't argue. She stood, unclipped her badge and set it on the table. "Suspend me, fire me, but at least Mrs. Whitaker is alive." As she stepped out of the room, reporters were already swarming the lobby. Flashbulbs popped, microphones were shoved in her face. "Nurse Hart, did you really slap a dead woman? Is it true you defied orders? Are you a hero or reckless?" Emily paused, then quietly said, "Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't follow a script," and with that she walked out into the chaos, alone, uncertain, but unshaken. The headlines exploded the next morning. "Nurse slaps dead billionaire's wife, saves her life, hero or hazard. Hospital suspends. Nurse who defied death." The slap that shocked America, news outlets replayed the clip again and again. Emily stepping forward, the sharp sound of the slap, gasps, confusion, and then Mrs. Whitaker blinking back to life. Talk shows debated her every move. Social media was on fire. Hashtags like Nurse Emily slapped to save and Listen to Nurses began trending. But the attention brought pressure too. The hospital remained silent. And Emily? She sat alone in her apartment, watching the world argue about her like she wasn't even real. Her phone buzzed constantly, calls from strangers, emails from reporters, even hate messages. Some called her reckless, others said she should win a medal, but not a word from the hospital, no one from the board. And Thomas Whitaker silent. Until that evening, a knock on her door. Emily peeked through the peephole, then froze. Thomas Whitaker, in a charcoal grey suit, stood alone outside her apartment. She opened the door slowly. "Mr. Whitaker." He nodded. "May I come in?" Emily hesitated, then stepped aside. He walked in, not with the presence of a billionaire, but like a man humbled by the truth. He didn't sit, just looked around the modest living room. "My wife? She's stable," he said. Still recovering, but she opened her eyes. Whispered my name. Emily's shoulders sagged slightly with relief. "That's good." He turned to face her. "I owe you a debt I can't repay. But I also came here to ask something." She waited. "I have resources. Influence. Whatever you want to call it. I want to make this right. They shouldn't have suspended you. I'll call the board, the director, whoever it takes." But Emily shook her head. They don't care about the truth, Mr. Whittaker. They care about image. I broke protocol. That's all they'll see. He stepped closer. Then let me be your image. If the hospital won't do right by you, maybe I can. You saved her. You saved me. Emily looked him in the eye. Then don't just clear my name. Help change the system. So next time, someone doesn't need to slap a dying woman to be heard. He stared at her, quiet for a moment. Then, slowly, Thomas Whittaker nodded. And for the first time since that slap, Emily felt like someone finally listened.